In this video, I'm going to run through a full model IELTS listening exam with you. So please get yourself a blank piece of paper and number it 1 through 40 so that you can try the questions and check your answers against mine as we move through the exam. Just a quick disclaimer, this is an exam that I wrote myself. It is in no way connected to the powers behind the actual IELTS. I hired voice actors to perform the monologues and dialogues and small conversations you hear in this exam. And what I've realized, having used this exam with IELTS students, is that it is slightly more difficult than an actual IELTS. So don't feel discouraged if you find you are really having trouble answering the questions. But it is nevertheless a great exercise that will expose you to several accents. And after you listen through this exam once, it can be helpful to listen through it again with the answers in hand to try to train yourself to pick out the answers you missed the first time around. So to try and train yourself to listen for the specific language that makes the answers possible. So this will help your oral recognition and will even expose you to some new vocabulary that you might previously been unaware of. I'll put a link to a blank version of this exam and a full transcript and an MP3 if you'd like to try this exam under more exam-like circumstances. So I'll put those links in the description section of this video below. Okay, before we start, just to note that there is a small sequencing mistake right at the beginning of the listening, in that the example that comes at the very beginning of any IELTS listening, it actually comes after question 1. So there's a small sequencing error there, but aside from this, the rest of the questions are in sequence. So please leave a like if you find this exercise helpful, and good luck with this model exam. Okay, now let's go to the mock listening test, and I will start the recording.
IELTSlisteningblog.com. Mock IELTS Listening Test 2. This recording is copyright
So I'll just turn
English
the volume down here. So there's a bit of a preamble, as you know, and at one point the recording will say that you can look at section 1, and that's during the time during the exam when you can turn your paper over and start previewing the questions.
Here. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All of the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1.
Okay, we're looking at section 1 here.
Section 1. You will hear a conversation between a buyer and supplier of industrial products. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7.
Now let's look at these questions. We're writing 3 words for each answer. We have 3 different items, it appears. So they're probably going to be listed in order. There's the item name. This number 5 will be an item. Problem. Incorrect product. No idea what that is. Drill bits are, could be an adjective. Incorrect could be an adjective.
You will see that there is an
solution.
example that has been done for you.
Okay, let's listen to the example.
On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good morning. Goodman Custom Fabricators, Sarah speaking. How may I help you?
Good morning. My name is Kevin Russo, Chief Designer for MES Exploration Incorporated. We placed an order with you for a number of custom oil and gas sector products. Most of the products are fine, however we've had a few issues with 3 items.
Okay, can you provide me with your order number and product codes for the items in question?
Yes, the order number is KB 23944 and the items are A193, B201 and F091.
I'm pulling up the information at the moment. Please hold. Here you are, Mr. Russo. Let's start with the first order, the steel load beds. What seems to be the problem?
The buyer indicates there is a problem with item A193, the steel load beds, so this has been written under item name in the table. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Good morning. Goodman Custom Fabricators, Sarah speaking. How may I help you?
Good morning. My name is Kevin Russo, Chief Designer for MES Exploration Incorporated. We placed an order with you for a number of custom oil and gas sector products. Most of the products are fine. However, we've had a few issues with 3 items.
Okay, can you provide me with your order number and product codes for the items in question?
Yes, the order number is KB 23944, and the items are A193, B201, and F091.
I'm pulling up the information at the moment. Please hold. Here you are, Mr. Russo. Let's start with the first order, the steel load beds. What seems to be the problem?
The steel load beds are supposed to be able to withstand up to 3 tons of weight. However, they appear to be bending with loads of only 2.5 tons. Our structural engineer feels the beds sent to us are thinner than they are described on your website. We'll need this issue solved by the end of next week to keep our project on track.
I apologise for the problem you have encountered with the steel load beds. Okay, as the beds are quite large, I'll arrange for someone in QA to visit you later today to assess the issue. If there has indeed been some mix-up regarding bed thickness, we will of course provide a full replacement at no cost to you. I can personally ensure the replacement will get to you well before the deadline.
That arrangement should work fine. Thank you.
Can you indicate what the issue is with the other items?
Yes, we've received several complaints from our manufacturers that the screws we ordered from you are easily stripped by the drill bits we use here at the factory.
You mean the screw heads are being stripped, right? Not the thread.
That's right.
We've never received a complaint of this nature about B201 screws. They're very robust.
Yes, I was also surprised. We've ordered them many times before and never had a problem. My feeling is that this batch of screws is defective.
Could it be the drills you're using?
I thought that at first too. We had a project manager look into this issue and he assures me no alterations have been made to any of our drills or drilling techniques.
Okay, to file a claim for a replacement of defective items, I'll need you to fill out a D1 form. I can email that to you after we finish this call. I'll also need you to give several of the defective screws to our QA representative to be brought back and analysed.
Okay, no problem.
And what's the issue with F091?
Yes, we ordered a truss F091 with custom welding. Unfortunately, the welds on the product are not the welds we had requested. We want the interior of the truss to be welded using double V joints, not single bevel joints.
Yes. I can see a note in your file indicating the need for custom welding. I'm so sorry about this. The welder must have overlooked the notes section of the order. I'll tell you what, I'll arrange for a welder to join the QA specialist at your plant today. He can redo the welding for you on site. Should only take a few hours.
Oh, that would be terrific, thanks. What time do you think they will be by?
I can arrange for any time after 3.
Would 3:15 work?
Could we say 3:45 to be safe? They will need some time to get to your factory.
That should work fine.
Okay, just punch that into my computer.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Is there anything else I can do for you today?
That's it. Thanks very much.
Have a great day, Mr. Russo.
Okay, so let's stop there and talk a little bit about how we could come up with the answers to this listening. Firstly, the item number, if I'm not mistaken, we heard that during the example. It is B201. They stated twice in the listening. Let's see, number 2 here, incorrect product is causing the beds to bend. And we were correct. This is a noun. They say it's incorrect thickness or thinness, I guess. Either or would be fine. And the solution that's proposed, employees may be sent out same day to check on the item. And then that ties into the solution for F091, which we'll get to in a second. So the second item, B201, the item name, it's the screws. The problem is that the drill bits are, now he says stripping the screws. So they're pulling the screw head, the groove in the screw head. They're pulling this apart, and then the screws can't be used. So stripping screws would be the answer there. and the buyer is to issue a form outlining the complaint, a D1 form. F091, the item name, this is a truss. They say, the man says the truss was not welded correctly. And what exactly was the problem? It's an incorrect weld type. He says something about wanting single bevel joints or double bevel joints. So it's an incorrect weld type. The work will be completed, and it was going to be held by done by the same team that's coming out to fix A193, so the work will be completed on site. Okay, so those are the solutions to the first part of the listening. Now let's continue.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, let's assume that we feel confident. We'll move on and use this time to bolster our understanding of section 2. So we're looking at a map. It says label the floor plan below, write no more than 3 words. The tour starts here, and we can see there's a hall. There are some doors in a back room, which could be mentioned. There's a backyard. There's another door here that might be mentioned in the recording. Let's see, these look like stairs, and some small rooms. There's the main closet has been outlined, so that might be in the listening as well. This is the ground floor.
Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a real estate agent giving a tour to prospective buyers of a housing unit. First, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 15.
Okay. And the second part is the first floor. So we see the stairs come up. More doors. We want to listen to that because they could be mentioned in the listening. The master bedroom. Okay, some room here, some room here. They all connect. Something here, living area, a dining room.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 8 to 15.
Now comes the fun part, where you can begin to envision living in your new house. As you enter the foyer, I want to draw your attention to the contemporary elephant grey wall colouring. You'll notice how this complements the crisp white marble floor tiles. These walls are 9 feet in height, which makes the entrance feel very open and spacious. To your right, you have the staircase leading up to the first floor, where we have a reverse layout. I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. If you notice the flooring on the stairs, you will see that other than the foyer and the 2 bathrooms, the entire house is covered in the finest quality walnut hardwood. Moving to the end of the foyer, this door leads directly to the finished garage. As you can see, it has more than enough room to fit a car and bikes, and you could likely get a barbecue and some seasonal items in there too. If we turn down the hallway to the left, you have the main closet on our right. The first door on your left will lead to the first of 2 bathrooms. This 4-piece bathroom, which features both a standalone tub and a state-of-the-art shower. This luxurious shower panel doesn't only look great, it allows for a variety of washing spray patterns. The bathroom has been fixed with the same marble tiling as the foyer and has a glass bowl sink. It's a great room and is very guest friendly. Across the hall, we have the first of 3 bedrooms. The smallest of the 3, it has sliding glass patio doors leading to the backyard. It would be ideal as an office or a spare bedroom. Please notice the charming spherical light fixture, which can be dimmed for mood setting. The door at the end of the hall leads to the backyard, terrific for barbecues. I'll take you out there in a moment. First, take a look at the laundry room. Instead of having it crammed in the garage or a basement, it's in a finished room on its own with a linen closet, wash basin, and a brand new washer and dryer set. Going back to the front entrance, the final door next to the stairs leads to the second bedroom, the largest of the 3 rooms. This bedroom's 3 large windows boast a great view of your front yard. There is also a very large walk-in closet. This would be a great guest bedroom or nursery. Okay. Let's head upstairs. I'll explain what I meant by reverse layout. As you can see, the stairs lead right up into your living area and dining room. Of course, these would traditionally be found on the ground floor, but this trendy design has taken a new approach. Keeping with the modern feel, it is a completely open concept and will allow you to really be creative with the decorating. There is a massive wraparound balcony that can be seen through all the windows on the first floor. Many of the other unit dwellers have set up flower beds and full dining sets outside on that balcony to take advantage of the warm summer nights. The kitchen is often a selling point for these units. You'll notice the island is solid charcoal granite with a dual sink. Plenty of space for all your appliances and utensils, but also has a built-in carving board right in the counter for easy prep work. The fridge and dishwasher are both matching stainless steel appliances. And finally, to round off the interior of the house, I present what is typically used as the master bedroom. Big enough for a king-size bed, dresser, mirror, and more. The best part is the walk-in closet. The walk-in closet leads right into your ensuite, which features another luxury shower, toilet, and sink. The second door leads out from the bathroom back to the kitchen area for guests. So that completes the tour. Let's head downstairs and out the back door where we can relax on the patio.
Okay, we'll stop it there. Let's go back up to the ground floor. So the tour started, and often in the IELTS you're helped by the numbers, the question numbers, because things are typically delivered in order of number. So we were first introduced to what number 8 was, and then number 9, then number 10, then number 11, and onwards. Number 8 was the garage. And if you wrote finished garage, that would be fine too. That's the way that he described it, but it's the garage. The person that was delivering the tour is Irish, so the pronunciation was a little different. He said garage, but so I hope you're able to get that. Number 9, this was a bathroom. And the mention of the main closet helped to position us a little bit. He said the main closet's on our right. To your left is the bathroom. And as we predicted, these couple of doors back here were stated by the person giving the tour. He said that they lead out into the backyard. And number 10 is one of the bedrooms. And then he describes the door out to the backyard. And then number 11 was the laundry room. Okay, and then he says we'll go back to the front door, and he introduces this large bedroom, and this large bedroom has a walk-in closet. I guess that's better punctuated with a dash. Walk-in closet. Okay, and then they go upstairs, and he describes the balcony, how it's very large, and he mentions that there are windows all the way around that allow people on the inside to look out into the balcony. There's a living area, a dining room. He mentions the kitchen, but it's not entirely clear. It becomes more clear after he takes us through the master bedroom, and then through, this is the second walk-in closet. And then through, this is another bathroom, but this one, he refers to it as the ensuite bathroom. So we'll want to, in our IELTS, write the room in the same way that he has introduced it to us. And then he says it leads back into the kitchen area. So this number 13 is sort of reinforced the second time that he mentions it. Okay, so I hope you're able to get a few of those. Now let's continue with our listening.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, and we're going to go ahead to section 3. Okay, no more than 3 words for each answer. It says it's the aim of the survey. So we know we're going to be listening to a survey. Because it's section 3, we also know that it'll be academic and that there will be more than one speaker Rising something, probably a noun. Bill 82, okay, something to do with legal vocabulary, is expected to cause, this will be a noun, A or N, rise in tuition fees if passed in, this is probably a date. Charter students is...
Now turn to Section 3. Section 3. You will hear a university student interview another university student about rising tuition. First, you will have some time to look at questions 16 to 25.
Okay. Charter students is a group that seeks to protect student, probably a noun. The interviewee supplemented tuition she received from her parents with, okay, so supplemented, you would need to know what that word means. The interviewee currently lives, this is probably a place. If Bill 82 is passed,
Now listen carefully and
borrow
answer
money
questions
or...
16 to 25.
Excuse me. Hi. Do you have a quick minute?
Well, I'm on my way to class. The lecture starts in 15 minutes. What can I do for you?
If you don't mind lending me 5 minutes of your time, I am conducting research on the opinions of rising tuition fees amongst students and professors alike. Given the recent proposal of Bill 82, which would see a 12% increase in tuition fees effective September if passed, I have a brief questionnaire, very basic questions that could lend to the survey.
Well, I am in a bit of a rush, but only a few minutes, right?
Yes, I assure you.
All right, how do I start?
Thank you so much. I should probably introduce myself first. I'm David Morgan. I'm a third-year sociology major and the founder of Charter Students, which is essentially a nonpartisan group that serves as a voice of advocacy for students' rights and equality. The survey can be completed anonymously, but I will have to ask you some demographic questions to bracket you. First, what program and year are you in currently, and are you studying full-time or part-time?
This is my third year of criminal psychology, studying full-time.
Okay, perfect. And how many years do you have left?
2 down, 2 to go.
All right, great. Seeing as how you've already paid 2 years tuition, what was your source of funding? Was it scholarship in bursaries, work/employment income, funds from family, personal savings, or other sources?
It was a combination between my personal savings and funding from my parents.
Okay. While attending university, are you working full-time, working part-time, or unemployed?
With my school workload, I can only manage to work part-time, and I'm even finding that heavy.
Okay, so in order to maintain your living and education costs, have you taken any measures such as living at home, cutting back on non-essentials, finding somewhere employment, or anything else?
I live on campus, which is a very expensive option, but I feel it has helped me focus on my studies. I took up the part-time job to help cover some of the costs of the textbooks and other living expenses, such as groceries and gas for my car. I work a full-time job in the summer months and put this money towards fall tuition.
Okay. If tuition costs were increased by 10% while you're still attending university, what would be your course of action?
It's hard to say for sure, but I would definitely need to find an additional source of income. With only 15 hours a week, I'm just covering my car and groceries. I'd probably need to take out a line of credit and get a second job. I've invested too much to quit now.
Okay, so I'll note here that you would stay the course but need to find funding. You would be surprised how many students responded that they would likely need to drop out. Okay, just another couple of questions.
No problem.
Your opinion of current tuition fees. Are they too high, appropriate levels, or too low?
Still too high in my opinion. I've seen reports that Canada is ranked among some of the highest tuition fees in the world. It's facts like this that have made me consider doing my degree abroad.
Actually, this is why I'm conducting this research. We are spearheading a petition based on the final results of this survey. Part of our argument is that increasing prices are pushing talented students away. Okay, the final question is, where do you most want to see your tuition fees spent? Curriculum improvements, student financial assistance, reducing class size, research, safety on campus, transportation, or other?
Oh, that's a long list. Let me take a quick look at it. Can I choose more than one answer?
Yes, you may choose as many as you like.
Well, curriculum improvement for sure, and, this may not be the typical response, but I would say transportation. Given the fact that the campus is quite expansive and the public transportation or shuttle service between various areas is virtually non-existent, it makes it difficult for students like me to make it from one class to another with any time to spare. Listen, I don't mean to be rude, but I should hurry off.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for stopping. I really appreciate all the candid answers.
No problem. Good luck with the survey.
Okay, so let's go over the answers here. So the aim of the survey to gather the opinions concerning rising amongst students at the university, and you probably caught this, rising tuition fees among students at the university. Bill 82 is expected to cause a or an, and we guessed correctly, this would be a number or a noun, I guess, 12% rise in tuition fees if passed in, and this was a time, as we also predicted correctly, September. Charter students is a group that seeks to protect student rights and equality. The interviewee supplemented tuition she received from her parents with, and this was a little confusing because I believe she delivered this information in the opposite order. So she mentioned that she had personal savings and funds from funds that she received from her parents. The interviewee currently lives, and she is currently on campus. If Bill 82 is passed, the interviewee would likely borrow money or find, and this is a second job. According to charter students, increasing tuition too much could cause Canada to lose. And this is talented students. And you probably could just put talent, and that would also be considered correct. The interviewee feels improving course curriculums and would be a healthy use of her, and she mentions something about her wanting better transportation because she's having trouble getting from one side of campus to the other. Healthy use of her her student tuition fees. Okay, now let's continue our listening.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, again, assuming that we feel confident, let's keep going. Section 4, this is the most difficult listening. It's an academic listening. 1 to 3 words or and a number for each answer. So we see the American Cowboy, part 1, where the image came from, part 2, what today. And then, okay, part 1. So I guess this is matching from up here. Part 1, where the image came from. We have dates. This is chronological. 1500. 1500 to 1700. 1750 to 1790. Okay, Vaqueros.
Now turn to section 4.
Looked after livestock brought from.
Section 4.
Probably a place.
You will hear a lecturer's introduction to a geography module. First, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 33.
To 33, okay. The word cowboy is first used to refer to young males of, this could be maybe a type of family or a place. Hispanic and Anglo-settlers exchanged goods and, so what else did they exchange? Mexican-American War starts in, this could be a date. Cultural exchange slows, okay. Anglo population spread through South and something USA. So maybe South and maybe North, I don't know, or South and East, or it could be something else. Cowboy is more commonly used to refer to cattle rancher. No idea. American cowboy becomes distinctly different from the Mexican cowboy. Okay, so we're going to listen for
now listen
something
carefully
in particular that
and
differs
answer
the two.
questions 26 to 33.
For many, the cowboy has come to embody the values of altruism and individualism, and is today seen as quintessentially American. But how accurate is this view? And why do so many people hold it? Well, in today's lecture, I'm going to examine the iconic American cowboy, where the image came from, and what the image means today. But let's start with a bit of background. The story of the cowboy stems as far back as the early 1500s, and these origins weren't even within what we today call the USA. In territory of what is now present-day Mexico, the vaqueros, or horse-mounted livestock herders, were early Spanish settlers that looked after horses and cattle brought to the New World from Spain. Now, as Spanish colonies expanded over the next 200 years, these ranching practices spread with them into areas that are now Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California. And from 1750 to 1790, the use of the term cowboy began, and mainly made reference to the young males of cattle herding families. By the 1800s, Hispanic and Anglo settlers were communicating and exchanging goods regularly, and this led to further cultural exchange. Livestock production and cattle ranching were in full swing throughout southwestern America by the start of the Mexican-American War in 1848. In the 100 years to follow, the adopted roping skills, horsemanship and saddle design of the vaqueros would be evolved by the Anglo populations, which are now spreading quickly across south and midwestern areas of modern USA. A new breed of horsemen took form, and titles such as cowherd, cowpuncher and cowpoke became commonplace. In fact, the word cowboy was still in use at this time, but had evolved to refer to an adult male cattle rancher instead of a boy. Much of the modern American cowboy's attire was adopted between 1800 and 1900. The leather leg coverings, commonly referred to as chaps, the leather cowboy boots and the cowboy hat we know today, they were all evolved from their Spanish originals. And by the turn of the 20th century, the American cowboy had a distinctly different look from the Mexican cowboy.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation,
Okay, so let's go over what we heard in here. Now, what you probably noticed is that there were several key words here that matched exactly with what the lecturer was saying, particularly words referring to, for example, young males that popped out at me. Mexican-American War, of course, was very clear. When he started saying cowherd, cowpuncher, cowpoke, it was clear that we were leading right into the answer for 32. So many of these answers were pretty straightforward. Okay, so part 1, where the image came from. Part 2, what the image means, and then today. What the image means today. And we can assume that this is going to be the topic we'll hear in the second half of the listening. Okay, so part 1 was about this, and then part 2 was perhaps more about the modern image of the cowboy. It talks about in the 1500s, the early cowboys in North America. The vaqueros herders looked after livestock brought from Spain. Okay, Spanish colonies expanded in the Americas, and thus ranching practices did too. The word cowboy is first used to refer to young males of, this was cattle ranching families. Hispanic and Anglo settlers exchanged goods and this was a little confusing because you might think it's goods and communication, because he talks about that about the same time as well, but it's goods and culture. Mexican-American War starts in 1848. Very straightforward answer. Just had to listen, to what he was saying precisely. Nothing was cryptic there at all. Anglo populations start evolving the ranching practices of the vaqueros. Anglo populations spread through south, and we correctly assume that this would be another direction, so Midwestern USA. Titles cowherd, cowpuncher, and cowpoke come into use. Cowboy is more commonly used to refer to adult male cattle ranchers. Adult male. American cowboy becomes distinctly different from the Mexican cowboy. I think this was the one answer that wasn't 100% straightforward. This one we had to listen and perhaps even deduce the answer. It is referring to attire or clothing, I suppose you could write too, clothing. Because he was talking about the chaps that cowboys wear. He was talking about the hat, a few other pieces of clothing that made them different. American cowboys different from Mexican cowboys. Okay, let's continue the listening.
You will have some time to look at questions 34 to 40.
Okay. Choose 4 letters at H. Which 4 words reflect what the American cowboy came to represent in the 20th century America? Let's underline came to represent and 20th century America. Okay, we'll have to listen to those. Which 3 words reflect what the American cowboy represents today? So we have one, what did it represent in the 20th century? And what does it represent today in the new millennium? And
Now listen carefully
these are probably
and answer
going to be
questions
synonyms.
34 to 40.
So let's move on to look at the evolution of the American cowboy as an icon. Around the year 1900, the American cowboy was seen as a symbol of the culture developing in the New World and was thus closely associated with opportunity and the individualism and liberty afforded by hard labour. The stress on individualism was amplified by the middle of the 20th century, when the cowboy came to represent a departure from traditional societal restrictions and conformity. In fact, the cowboy was seen as outside the mould of traditional American societal structure, and this encouraged elements of the image like bell-bottom pants and cowboy hats to be incorporated into the hippie movements of the 60s, a massive American movement based upon rebelling against societal expectations. When we look at the cowboy today, that sense of individualism still holds true, but it's coupled with strong sentiments of heroism and altruism, predominantly stimulated by Hollywood movies and other elements of modern pop culture. So, that's the American cowboy in a nutshell, a 500-year-old icon that continues to evolve.
Okay. So that was a little more challenging. Many of these words are mentioned. However, several of them were not representations of, or were not what the cowboy came to represent in the 20th century. So he mentions societal restrictions. He's talking about the cowboy as being a liberating sort of image against societal restrictions. So it could not be letter A. Individualism, he mentions this. This is one of the answers. Conformity. Again, as with societal restrictions, he's saying that the cowboy is not this. The cowboy represents being somewhat of a rebel or going against the mold, I think is what he says, or outside the mold. So it would not be this. Rebellion, that is one of the answers. So B, D. The hippie movement. Now he mentions that several of the pieces of clothing that the cowboy, that became part of the iconic cowboy's attire, were incorporated into the hippie movements within the US, but these are not what the cowboy represents. So that could not be the answer. Liberty, yes, he mentions that. Opportunity, yes. So the 4 answers. And again, the traditional societal structure thing, that was something that the cowboy was sort of an image against. Okay, it was B. I'll just type all 4 right here. B, rebellion, D, liberty, F, and opportunity, G. Which 3 words reflect what the American cowboy represents today? So we have generosity, individualism, heroism, altruism, the pursuit of happiness, and ambition. Generosity, there wasn't any mention of that in what he was saying, so that is not one of the answers. Individualism, yes. So that would be 1. Heroism, yes, and he ties this to Hollywood movies and the image of the cowboy always doing the right thing, which also links us to altruism. So B, C, D would be the correct answers. The pursuit of happiness, not so much, and ambition, no. So the correct answers here would be B, C, and D. I hope that exam wasn't too painful. Please let me know what you think in the comments and leave a like, and I'll see you in the next IELTS video.